my whole life I've been really like in a state of torment. You know, I was very hallucinogenic as a child. I'm like very hyper, but a part of it is also I was very sickly most of my childhood. And when we lived in Chicago, we were like exposed to tuberculosis, and then we all got really sick. And then I had scarlet fever and all these different things, and like especially the scarlet fever stuck me in such a state like where I'd start hallucinating really early. I was like 7 years old. I remember I slept right next to a coal stove. And I was watching this blue flame, and it just felt like I was being suffocated by comet skulls and animals like foxes with like human faces coming at me real fast. I mean, all that kind of stuff, and it sort of never went away. Once you have a really high fever, nearly die of a fever, it never really leaves you. And it's like that, you know, ever since I was 7 and had this fever, it's just returned. Sometimes it was pleasurable, but often it was like really being filled with all these like Artaud, you know, these like white clawing tigers or something that I just couldn't control. And it just made me feel alien from everybody because I couldn't really express it, you know. The one thing that helped me control it was like, well, I was a real bookworm, you know, and I was always, my mother really was like into fairy tales and stuff. And my father was like into like scientific fairy tales like the Bible and UFOs and stuff like that. And I had a lot of outlets. Now, I mean, I was lucky. I mean, if I was like a kid that like I guess had regular parents, I would have probably gone insane. But my parents were so explorative, especially my father, that I had all these like really neat outlets. But like when I became like a teenager, it really started getting excruciating. And it really got terrible. By the time I was 19, I was just like I couldn't control myself. I felt I was like being prickled from without and within by hundreds of demons. And I just couldn't stand it. And I met this guy, Robert Mapplethorpe, who was an artist. We were real young, around 19. And he just like taught me about the beauty of form, you know. The men in my life have been very important to me in teaching me, you know, the beauty of form, because I'm very formless, very undisciplined person. You can only be tortured so much, you know. I mean, I got a real handle on art. I mean, I was a real good artist. Anything I tried to do great. I mean, that's one reason why, you know, I'm not a housewife or I'm not a waitress. Isn't because I have anything against it. You know, I just was a lousy waitress. I failed as a waitress, and I can't clean up good. I'm an excellent book clerk, a good sales girl. Things like that I have a good aptitude for. Probably would have been a good politician if I had better vocabulary. But it's like a long, involved process. I mean, the whole thing about art for me is that art has always been a way for me to exercise demons and stuff, exercise a certain kind of frustrations or clawings in my brain. And rock and roll is like a way for me. It's totally different, you know. I mean, it's more an ecstatic thing. I mean, people like seem very possessive of the fact that, well, Patti was an artist, or you were an artist or a poet, you know, and we got into you as a poet, and now you're doing this stuff, you know. Have you sold out to rock and roll? And I think it's really dumb, you know. To me, like, rock and roll is like the art of our generation, you know, a very unexplored art. And it's like, I haven't even tasted what it feels like to get to the ultimate to rock and roll, you know. I mean, I'm still waiting for, like, to do some big hall, you know, with kids screaming. That's, to me, the ultimate in rock and roll is, like, you know, to have, like, an audience like Blue Oyster Cult, you know, where the kids just go totally insane, you know, and you just get caught up in, like, the whole physical mania of it. I mean, I've been performing for years. To see a bunch of people sitting in a club, you know, like getting into the poetry or like, yeah, I dig, yeah, I'm into poetry. That doesn't do anything to me anymore. You know, I've been doing that for years. I mean, the thing that has always frustrated me all my life is like a certain kind of alien feeling I always felt. I mean, in everything, you know, it's really hard to admit. Even in sex when I was younger, I never actually felt like I was there. I'd go out with somebody that I really cared about, or I'd be seeing a movie that I really liked. I could never really taste it as it was happening. I could only taste it later, thinking about it. I was always the kind of person that couldn't wait till like a really great experience was over so I could think about it or something. I guess a lot of kids are like that, but to me it was like so exaggerated that I never felt in the moment. And like art sort of helped a little, but then art got to the point where it was so divided from life because it's so product and so aesthetic and so private oriented. And I still love it. I mean, don't get me wrong or nothing. It's just that, like, I'd be at a party and all of a sudden I'd feel a poem, or I'd feel the rhythms of a poem or something, so I couldn't relate to the party. I'd have to go off in the bathroom and write. I'd be like the guy in Glass Menagerie, you know, writing on the shoe boxes, you know. And that used to frustrate me. I got really pissed off at art. I was like a jealous mistress. I said, can't you let me have a good time? I couldn't actually feel what was happening. I'd be too much into my brain. I think it's a problem women have, especially more than men, you know, that they're very cerebrally oriented. And the thing that's performance done to me is, because you're dealing with the moment, you know, because that's it, you know, just like this Fedco t-shirt says, you don't get no second chance. When you're on the stage, that's it, you know. I mean, if you're daydreaming and you're not thinking about it, or you can't get into it, you don't get off, you know. But mostly what performance done, most of the thing I like about being on stage is I'm right there with everybody. I mean, if I'm like doing bad, I'm experiencing the same pain as they are. It's not a shell. I mean, most of my life, I've been sort of like, my soul or my consciousness has hovered over me like a little spaceship, and there's this shell, this body. And I want to live, you know. I like being on Earth, you know. I don't want to, like, zing out. And it's like now, you know, it's like with performing, I feel really integrated. You know, that's like the best word I can feel. I feel like a real merging of this part of me that wants to, like, express myself, you know, artistically, or recreate nature or whatever it is with my body, you know. It's all one.